Discover how a 5 date exposed an incredible transformation that moved a busy CEO dad to action. Mike glanced around at the throng of people, a weight settling in his chest. Here he was, a 42-year-old CEO, at a community fair filled with laughter, vibrant colors, and families who cherished moments together. Yet, he felt like an outsider looking in. Caught in a whirlwind of meetings and deadlines, he'd let life pass him by, missing out on the giggles of his son Jack and the twinkle in his daughter Emma's eyes. Was this really the life he wanted? As he reluctantly moved through the crowd, a familiar face caught his attention. Sarah, his beloved wife, standing there under the sun, holding an old map marked with food stalls. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, just like they used to. "Hey, want to join me?" she asked, a smile brightening her face. He hesitated, glancing at his watch, but something inside him stirred. Ignoring the nagging voice that whispered of deadlines, he nodded. "All right, let us do this." They wandered the fairgrounds, the smell of funnel cakes wafting through the air, tempting and nostalgic. They shared stories about their kids, and for a moment, laughter bounced off the walls of their faded memories. Mike felt a softening in his heart. He remembered the plan they had for that little cottage by the lake and how their nights used to be filled with dreams, not just obligations. As they strolled deeper into the fair, they stumbled upon a veteran selling handmade crafts, his smile warm but eyes shadowed with unspoken pain. He told them about his struggles, how he was fighting hard to adjust to civilian life. Mike felt something shift within him, an empathy that surged with every word spoken. Then they met a schoolteacher, frazzled and passionate, advocating for art programs, her dream of nourishing young minds kept alive by sheer will against daunting odds. And finally, a spirited shop owner, her family business teetering on the brink, spoke of the years of hard work and love poured into her shop, with tears barely held at bay. Each encounter struck Mike, lifting blinders he didn't know he wore, revealing the weight of societal realities. But just as the healing began, his phone buzzed. A high-stakes project needed his immediate attention. The opportunity promised success, accolades, and the prestige he was conditioned to chase. Yet, standing there, between the familiar warmth of Sarah's laughter and the heartache of the community around him, he faced a crossroads. Could he support his family and take action for the community without sacrificing the career he worked so hard for? Thoughts of Jack and Emma flashed through his mind. How would they remember him? As a distant memory or someone who cared enough to make a change? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Mike stared into the crowd, each face a reminder of resilience, hope, and camaraderie. He had so much to consider. This moment could redefine everything. As he looked back to Sarah and saw her encouraging smile, he felt a pull between the dreams of a successful CEO and the call to be a true leader in his family and community. Just as clarity surged, the unexpected happened. A sudden emergency in his company demanded his undivided attention, threatening to pull him once more into the corporate whirlwind. With his heart racing, Mike stood at the brink. A fork in the road stretched before him. Which path would he choose? One that might secure his career but compromise his soul, or one that could heal the fractures in his family and community? The decision loomed, heavy with the future of everything he held dear. Mike's pulse quickened. He could feel the pressure of his phone vibrating in his pocket, a relentless reminder of the corporate realities waiting behind him. But as the sun shone brighter, he couldn't help but think how different life could be if he took a step into the light, instead of retreating into the shadows where his numbers and spreadsheets resided. "Do you want to grab some funnel cakes?" Sarah's voice broke through his thoughts, rich with warmth. The kids would love that. For a split second, the image of Emma's jubilant laughter danced in his mind, and the thought of Jack with sticky fingers grinning widely made his heart swell. "I think I need to make this call," he stammered, the words tasting bitter. Sarah's smile faltered, a fleeting shadow of disappointment crossing her face. What was more important than this moment? His heart battled against his mind. Could the meeting wait? No, You don't, she said softly, putting a hand on his arm. You're here now, and we need you here. Jack and Emma need you here. He looked over at a small booth where kids were tossing rings at bottles, their joyous cheers ringing through the air, and he knew she was right. He felt torn. This was a chance to experience life fully, to be a dad, a husband, and perhaps a human being again. With a resolve growing inside him, he pulled out his phone. I'm going to tell them I can't talk right now. The voice on the other end of the call was persistent, a tangled web of urgency and pressures. Each demand felt like it was overshadowing the truth. He'd spent too many years lost in the corporate maze, forgetting what truly mattered. Hey, he finally said, forcing a grin into his voice even though he felt distant. I can't deal with this right now. Call Eric, he can handle it. I have some urgent personal matters to attend to. The shock of his own words sent a ripple of surprise through him. He hung up and turned to Sarah, who lit up at the sight of his change in spirit. Let us do this, Mike said, no longer hesitating. As they weaved through the crowds, his heart felt lighter, buoyed by the laughter of children and the vibrant colors around him. Every booth they stopped at became a doorway to connection. They shared stories with local artists, tasted homemade pies, and even participated in a dance-off that left them breathless with laughter. He felt alive in a way he hadn't in years, grounding him back to what truly mattered. Yet deep down, Mike was aware of the ticking clock. He still had that decision to face the reality of his job would loom large when they returned to their lives. Would these moments of joy carry enough weight to shift his priorities? When they stumbled upon a shady picnic area, Sarah sat under the branches, her eyes sparkling. This is what life is about, Mike. He nodded, his heart racing. Her words soaked into him. Could he really change his path? Did the urgency of his corporate life justify the memory of this day spent together? As dusk began to fall, casting a golden glow over the fair, Mike caught a glimpse of a community bond, a collective hope he hadn't felt before. But suddenly, a loud announcement echoed through the fairgrounds. Attention, everyone. Tonight, we're raising funds to support the local community center that's at risk of closing down. Mike's heart thudded. This was at the moment he had been waiting for. Was he ready to step up? The answer could reshape the coming days. What would he say? The stakes felt higher than ever. As he approached the stage, the crowd swelled with expectation. Would he take a leap into the unknown, or would he retreat back into the life he was ready to leave behind? The crowd murmured. A sea of faces turned towards him, each set of eyes wide with curiosity and encouragement. It was as if the air around him vibrated with the energy of possibility. Mike's heart raced, propelling him forward, but a sliver of doubt crept in, cluttering his mind. What would he even say? What did these people expect from him, a guy used to closing deals, not making speeches? He stood at the edge of the stage, the wooden planks warm beneath his feet, and took a moment to scan the faces in the audience. He spotted Jack and Emma, their tiny bodies bouncing with excitement, their smiles wide. Sarah stood beside them, beaming with pride, as if she had known all along this was where he needed to be. I don't usually do this, he started, feeling a strange mix of warmth and vulnerability wash over him. But today has shown me more than I could have ever imagined. As he spoke, he found his rhythm, a steady cadence that fused his insecurities with newfound strength. I've spent so much time focused on numbers, trying to climb that corporate ladder, that I forgot what really matters. He paused, swallowing the lump in his throat. It's easy to think you're too busy to be present. But I've realized that life is happening right now. It's in the laughter of my kids, the sparkle in my wife's eyes, and moments just like this. The audience listened intently, their expressions a mix of empathy and enthusiasm, fueling his words. I want to help support our local community center. This place, the relationships we build, the memories we create, this is what makes life worth living. We cannot let it fade away. A wave of applause erupted from the crowd, a tidal surge that lifted his spirits even higher. The smiles around him reflected the truth of what he felt in his heart. They were all in this together. Every dollar tonight is a step toward keeping this community alive, he continued, his voice more confident now. Let us fight for our kids' futures, for a space where they can dream and grow, just like we did. As the applause swelled, Mike felt the electric pull of transformation. He stepped back and waved his hands, his heartbeat echoing in his ears, his soul ignited with passion. This wasn't just about fundraising. It was a chance to restore something essential within himself, a connection to community, to purpose. But as the applause faded, he also felt fear creeping back in. Would this spark carry past tonight? Would he step off this stage and dive back into the confines of his office, lost again in corporate chaos? The old Mike hovered in the shadows, ready to reclaim him the moment he stepped off the platform. He took one deep breath, grounding himself. The crowd was still there, the energy palpable. Let us make a pledge tonight. For every small step each of us takes, we'll come together to create something incredible. I'm all in, and I want you to be too. With a final cheer from the audience, he stepped back, heart thrumming with exhilaration. The realization hit him, this wasn't just about the community center. This was about his commitment to be different, to embrace the present moments he once let slip away. As he left the stage, Sarah rushed to him, her eyes sparkling with pride. "Mike, that was amazing. I just spoke what I felt," he replied, still rushing from the adrenaline. "Are you ready for a change?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, but he heard every word in that moment. Mike looked around at the fair, at the faces of his children, the community around him. He felt a sudden clarity. He could choose to keep this energy alive, but it would require courage, a conscious shift. "Yeah, I think I am," he said, his heart swelling with a sense of newfound purpose. But even as the moment felt right, another thought nagged at him. What would he need to sacrifice to fully embrace this path? As darkness fell, the lights of the fair twinkled around him, but deep down, Mike knew the biggest challenge was still ahead. He felt a stirring of fear mixed with excitement. Would the pressure of corporate life overpower his drive for change? The stakes had never felt higher. The air around him crackled with potential, but would he have the strength to navigate the road ahead? The fair lights illuminated the night, casting a warm glow over everything and everyone. Mike took a deep breath, soaking in the energy buzzing in the air. His heart still raced from the speech, a mixture of adrenaline and a flicker of anxiety twisting within him. He couldn't ignore the gnawing question that tugged at him. Was he truly ready for the shift? "Let us go grab some food," Sarah suggested, noticing his distant gaze. She slipped her hand into his, anchoring him. Her warmth was a reminder of the support that enveloped him, not just from her, but from everyone watching. "Sure, what do you feel like?" His voice, though steady, betrayed his mind still racing through the possibilities. "Corn dogs and some lemonade?" she replied, her eyes sparkling with the same enthusiasm as the kids nearby. As they made their way through the crowd, Jack and Emma darted ahead, their laughter floating back to Mike like music. Each giggle pulled him further away from the corporate world he had spent so much time in, a world that often felt cold and isolating. Here, among the community, he felt warmth, camaraderie, and a sense of belonging he had long overlooked. They came to a stand selling corn dogs, the scent wafting through the air. Children clamored around a table, their faces smeared with sugary cotton candy. Mike couldn't help but smile at the sight. "2 corn dogs and a lemonade, please," Sarah called to the vendor. The man behind the counter flashed a grin, his face deeply lined with the marks of 100 fairs, 100 years of smiles and memories that told stories of their own. While they waited, Mike caught sight of an older gentleman chatting with a group of kids, his voice animated and full of life. The man pointed skyward as if revealing the secrets of the stars. A sudden thought struck Mike. This was it. This was the magic he had been missing. "We need to create that kind of space," he said, turning to Sarah, a new fire igniting in his chest. "A place where people can come together, where they can share, learn, and build each other up." "Exactly," she agreed, her voice brimming with excitement. "It's about connection, community. The fair is a perfect example of it." "But how?" Mike asked, already envisioning the logistics of it all. Would it mean less focus on work, more focus on the community? Would sacrifices need to be made? His mind waded through the possibilities, each one heavier than the last. The vendor handed them their food, breaking his train of thought. "Enjoy the fair," he said with a smile, as they walked away with their hands full. A few bites into the corn dog, Mike saw Jack tugging Emma toward a booth filled with colorful masks. The air hummed with laughter, chatter, children running with glee. "Do you remember last year?" Sarah asked, her voice threaded with nostalgia. "Of course. They loved that puppet show," he replied, the warmth inside him growing. But then it struck him, what if he was just a shadow of his former self? In the whirlwind of corporate life, would he fade back into the background once the thrill of the night dissipated? As they walked through the fairground, he noticed the moments he had once missed, the connection between parents and children, friends sharing smiles. He felt an ache for something more than just involvement. He craved meaningful change. What if we make a plan? He wondered aloud, glancing at Sarah. You mean like a community project? Her eyes lit up with enthusiasm. Yeah, something that mixes fun with education, a festival of sorts. He felt a rush of excitement. Cheers and laughter erupted from another part of the fair. The thought of acting on these ideas thrilled him. When would they come together as a community to celebrate life, to remind themselves what truly mattered? He could feel a shift occurring, like the slow turn of a wheel as he began to grasp what was within reach. Let us do it, Mike said, his voice firm. Let us find a way to keep this energy alive. There was something profound in that moment. The realization that you could start small and build something incredible just by coming together. But as they continued to walk, mingling among the joyful chaos, a new worry emerged in the back of his mind. How would the corporate world respond to this connection? Would it welcome his commitment to community, or would it see his passion as a threat? The night was still young, but Mike felt the weight of the journey ahead. He'd have to make choices that would define him not just as a father, but as a leader in the community. As the laughter echoed around him, the excitement swirling through the crowd, Mike faced a pivotal moment. Would he embrace this new path, or would he retreat when the pressure mounted? He took another bite of his corn dog, but his heart pounded with uncertainty. The real challenge was just beginning. As they wandered through the fair and the sounds of laughter enveloped them, Mike felt an urgency rising inside him. This wasn't just a fun night out, it was a turning point. He shared a knowing look with Sarah, who seemed to sense the depth of his contemplation. Hey, she said, nudging him gently, what is going on in that head of yours? You look like you've just solved world hunger. It feels bigger than that, he admitted, glancing around at the families, at the joy surrounding them. I keep thinking about how we can actually do this. Create something meaningful, something sustainable. Yeah, but how do we turn this night into something more? She pressed, her excitement mingling with his hesitation. Maybe we need to start small. Mike paused, the ideas swirling in his mind. We could host a community event right here at the fairgrounds. Something that brings everyone together, like a festival focused on creativity and learning. A way to bridge the gap between generations, between old friends and new faces. That sounds amazing. Sarah's eyes lit up. What do you think we could include? He thought about the older gentleman who had entertained the kids earlier. A storyteller weaving tales of adventures and laughter. We could have storytelling sessions, workshops on crafts, cooking classes. Bring in local musicians, artists. Something that showcases all our hidden talents. I love it, she exclaimed, the warmth of her voice wrapping around him like a hug. Jack and Emma ran back, their faces lit with excitement. Look what we found, they shouted, waving colorful masks in the air. Mike couldn't help but chuckle at their enthusiasm. Yet, the deeper visions lingered in his mind. What if this festival thrived? What if it became a true celebration of community? As they headed toward the Ferris wheel, Mike could hardly contain his thoughts. Imagine this place buzzing with activities all day long. A space for learning and growing together. Sarah squeezed his hand. And it doesn't have to stop at the fair. We could organize follow-up events. Workshops, meetups, get the schools involved. Everyone has something to teach. Mike felt a thrill at the prospect. It was like a match struck in his chest, igniting a fire. He could envision the possibilities sprawling out like a map unfolding. But just as quickly, doubt edged in. Was he ready to commit to this level of involvement? In the distance, the Ferris wheel lit up, shining against the darkening sky. He watched as families climbed into the brightly colored gondolas, laughter echoing back down to them. What if we really pull this off? He thought to himself. Hey, you all right? Sarah's voice cut through his reverie. Yeah, just thinking. What if it fails? The question slipped out before he had a chance to stop himself. Fail? Sarah raised an eyebrow, her eyes fierce with determination. Failure is just a step to figure out what works. You have the community's backing, Mike. Remember the people in the crowd tonight? He nodded slowly, absorbing her words. The crowd wasn't just a sea of faces, they were real connections. He could feel their energy merging with his dreams, blending into a hope for change. Jack tugged at Mike's shirt. Can we go on the Ferris wheel, Dad? Sure, buddy. Mike smiled, trying to mask the uncertainty still gnawing at him. As they climbed into the gondola, the view stretched beyond the fair, revealing the town bathed in fair lights. In that moment, he felt a sudden clarity, a sense of possibility. But just as the gondola began to rise, his heart thudded as he recalled the stakes involved. This was more than an event. This was a movement. What if the community responded positively, but the corporate naysayers pushed back? As they reached the top, he caught a breath and glanced at Sarah, who was beaming up at him. The girl who had always believed in his ideas, the one who sparked the light in his heart. He needed to find the courage to leap into this challenge, to become the leader the community needed. Are you ready? She asked, her voice steady, pulling him back from his spiraling thoughts. Ready as I'll ever be, he urged, heart pounding. But a question remained. Could he truly lead this change, or would he falter when it mattered most? And amid the brilliant lights of the fair, one thought lingered: what would that first step look like? The real journey was just beginning. As the gondola swayed gently, Mike's heart raced in rhythm with the rising excitement around him. Down below, the fair spilled color and life, buzzing with chatter and laughter. Each face he passed in the crowd held hopes, dreams. What if this community really rallied behind their idea? What if they did something big together? Isn't it magical up here? Sarah said, her voice lilting with delight as they crested the peak. The entire fair spread beneath them like a canvas. She leaned back, free-spirited, her hair dancing with the breeze. But Mike couldn't shake off the knots in his stomach. He wanted to be the one to paint that canvas, to shape it into something beautiful. Yeah, it really is. But he hesitated, searching for the words. What if we aren't enough? What if I can't organize this? What if people don't show up? Mike, she said softly but firmly, that's all part of it. You can't control everything. Focus on what you can do. You have passion, and you have me. We'll find a way together. Her eyes met his, bright and determined. Jack and Emma, lost in their youthful joy, squealed as they spotted familiar faces below. Their innocent laughter brought a flicker of warmth to Mike's heart, reminding him why this mattered. The gondola started its descent, slowly drawing them back down to the frenetic energy of the fairgrounds. Mike's pulse quickened, not from fear, but from the stirrings of inspiration. Just think, he said, vision swirling. We could start by reaching out to our neighbors. Maybe involve the local schools and community centers. We can gather ideas, create a committee to help plan things. Exactly. Sarah clapped her hands in excitement. This is a chance for everyone to contribute. It'll be like a beautiful mosaic, each piece vital. As they stepped off the gondola, the weight of uncertainty still lingered. It tugged at him, demanding to be addressed, but he couldn't let it overshadow the spark of possibility ignited by Sarah. Okay, he exclaimed, channeling his mounting enthusiasm. First steps first. Let us get a brainstorm going. Maybe even a small meeting at our house this weekend. We can invite people to share their ideas. If we reach out, I bet we'll surprise ourselves. Let us do it. Sarah cheered, and her infectious energy spread through him like wildfire. Suddenly, Mike recalled the stories shared by the older man earlier. And we need someone to lead the storytelling part. Like, can you just imagine all those grandmas and grandpas sharing tales of their youth? The idea seemed to resonate in the air around them, sparking even more inspiration. As they turned away from the Ferris wheel, Mike began to notice the rest of the fair once again. The colorful lights glimmered against the darkening sky, whispering the dreams of those who lingered nearby. Look, Emma pointed at a nearby booth, where kids were stitching bright yarn into colorful patterns. Can we try that? Sure, Mike said. Let us dive into the spirit of creativity. As they approached the booth, he felt the warmth of the moment. Families laughed together, kids were engrossed in their creations, and citizens exchanged stories. Their little festival felt more tangible with each laughter shared, each idea sparked. Yet, even amidst that joy, a shadow lurked. Would larger forces try to dismantle this effort? The thought crept back into his mind, but Mike shook it off for now. They had momentum, and momentum felt powerful. Can you believe this? Jack said, eyes wide. We could all be a part of something really cool. Yeah, buddy, Mike replied, returning his son's gaze. Yeah, we can. As the laughter and chatter enveloped him again, a question chased after the laughter. Would their little festival flourish into something meaningful or crumble under the weight of resistance? The stakes were high, yet the drive to bring the community together burned bright within him. With Sarah at his side, Mike was ready for battle. But how exactly would they rally their neighbors? And who would step up to lead the charge? As they walked toward the crafting booth, excitement bubbled within him, mingling with doubt. This was just the beginning. But would there be enough support to see it through? Bright lights flickered overhead, casting a kaleidoscope of colors across the bustling fairground. Mike felt as if he could touch the energy pulsating around him. Each booth, each sound, each smiling face told a story of hope and camaraderie. This wasn't just a festival, it was more than that. It was a chance to weave a community tapestry, one thread at a time. Let us grab some cotton candy. Jack tugged at Sarah's sleeve, eyes gleaming with excitement. Okay, but just one, she said, giggling as she followed him. Mike watched them go, their laughter a sweet melody against the backdrop of the festival. It reaffirmed his resolve. He had to do this not just for himself, but for everyone. Hey, Mike. A voice broke through his thoughts. It was George, a neighbor from down the street. Are you guys enjoying the fair? Yeah. Mike smiled. We're just soaking it all in. How about you? Same here. Crazy how everyone has come together. Makes you think about what we can do to keep this going, George said, leaning in slightly, his voice tinged with excitement. Absolutely, Mike said, heart pounding. Actually, we're planning a community meeting this weekend to brainstorm ideas for the festival. I'd love for you to come. George's brows shot up in surprise. Really? That sounds amazing. I'd love to help. As they chatted, Mike felt the weight on his shoulders begin to lift, even if just a little. Each conversation, each shared insight, built more than just excitement, it built support. Do you have a plan for the meeting? George asked. Well, I want to gather everyone's ideas. We'll discuss themes, activities, maybe even storytelling sessions. That storytelling part is brilliant, George exclaimed. My mom has a treasure trove of stories she'd love to share. Mike's grin widened. Every piece of contribution felt crucial. That's exactly the kind of spirit we need. Suddenly, a commotion erupted near the Ferris wheel. A group of kids, including Emma, were running toward them, animated and breathless. There's a talent show, Emma exclaimed, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Can I sign up? Please. Talent show? Mike echoed, considering the possibilities. An idea flickered to life in his mind. This could be a platform for everyone to share their gifts, their passions. Of course. Let us make it happen. As Emma jumped up and down in delight, Mike felt a swell of determination. Each event, each shared moment, brought them one step closer to strengthening their community ties. Yet, beneath the excitement, that lingering shadow still loomed. What if the support started dwindling? What if external forces threatened to derail their efforts? Mike. A chorus of voices pulled him from his worries. Sarah and Jack returned, cotton candy in hand. We found the best booth. Looks like you guys are having fun. Mike chuckled, noticing their sugar-coated smiles. How about we team up for that talent show? Team up? Jack asked, brows furrowed in thought. Yeah, Emma chimed in. Like a family act. We could sing, dance, and maybe tell some funny stories. Maybe it was the sugar rush, or perhaps the atmosphere, but Mike felt a surge of joy. The kids' innocent enthusiasm reminded him of the importance of this mission. Families could come together, share their creativity, enjoy each other's company. Just as he was about to say yes, a loudspeaker crackled to life. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a special announcement. The talent show needs community participants. Sign up at the main booth. Don't miss your chance to shine. The words hung in the air, a challenge and an invitation all in one. Mike turned to Sarah, her face illuminated with excitement. What do you think? I think we should, she said, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. And in that moment, Mike grasped the truth. They had the power to shape this event, to mold it into something unforgettable. But as a new wave of doubt crept in, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something much larger than just a talent show. Would their combined sparks of creativity hold against the tides of skepticism that often ran through their town? With a determined heart and a playful spirit, Mike realized one thing. This would either ignite a flame of community or reveal the cracks that needed mending. As they hurried toward the main booth, Mike couldn't help but wonder, was this mere gathering of talent the turning point they were looking for? Or would they discover dark currents pulling at the edges of their hopes? The main booth loomed ahead, its bright colors drawing people in like moths to a flame. As they approached, the excitement in the air intensified, a firm mix of joy and anticipation swirling around them. Mike felt an exhilarating rush, like standing on the cusp of a thrilling ride at the fair, nerves firing, heart pounding. "What is our act gonna be?" Jack asked, his eyes sparkling with ideas. "I can sing," Emma exclaimed, bouncing on her toes. "And I'll juggle," Jack added, arms waving in the air as cotton candy dangled precariously from his grip. Their enthusiasm was contagious. Mike felt himself grinning like a kid again. "Let us do it. A family act it is. But we need to think of something special, something that really shows who we are." Just then, Sarah caught his arm and leaned closer, her voice lowered conspiratorially. "What if we write a little skit about our neighborhood? Something funny about our experiences together?" Mike's heart swelled at the idea. It wasn't just their talents they would showcase. It would be a piece of their community's story. "I love that. We can include all the little quirks, the things that make us who we are." As plans began to form, a sense of solidarity washed over them. Around them, families gathered, laughter ringing out like bells. Festival goers were busy signing up at the booth or seeking the next thrill on one of the rides. But in that joyful moment, Mike felt the shadows creeping back, whispering doubts in the corners of his mind. What if their performance was met with indifference? What if their ideas were dismissed as whimsical, non-essential? He could almost hear the voices that had lingered in his thoughts for weeks, reminding him of how fragile community bonds could be. "Mike," Sarah's voice broke through his reverie. "Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Just thinking," he admitted, shaking off the chill of doubt. He needed to stay focused on the joy and potential here, not let his fears dim the light the kids were radiating. "Let us look over some of the signs," he suggested. "Maybe gathering inspiration can spark new ideas for our act." As they approached the main booth, Mike was taken aback by the crowd. Young and old, they mulled around, bursting with excitement and laughter. It reminded him of a life-sized board game where every participant played their role, each one significant in weaving the fabric of the fair. "Wow, look at all these people." Emma beamed, her enthusiasm infectious. "It's incredible," Jack agreed, his eyes darting across the joyful chaos. They moved closer, the sounds of the loudspeaker blending harmoniously with the chatter of voices. Mike couldn't help but feel a surge of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this was the moment they could start something special. That as they signed their names on the board, Mike caught sight of a familiar face at the front, Mrs. Thompson, the retired teacher who had once inspired a whole generation of students. Her presence grounded him, a reminder of the roots they were all part of. She offered a warm smile, a twinkle in her eye that said she believed in their potential. With renewed confidence, Mike turned to who was now his small team of performers. "We're starting something big, you know that? Right here. Yes, let us show them our hearts," Emma shouted, her spirit contagious. But just as they began to dream bigger, a tense hush swept through the crowd. Mike turned, heart racing, to see a group of older teens near the back of the booth, gazes fixed on the stage. Their expressions were less than encouraging sneers replaced smiles, arms crossed, a barrier built of skepticism. Could their spirit withstand the weight of that negativity? Was this talent show an opportunity or a doorway to more doubt and rejection? As the hush transformed into whispers, Mike could feel the energy shift. It was as if the air thickened with that age-old fear of not being enough, of standing out only to be shot down. "Let us make it fun," Emma cheered, oblivious to the tension. "Yeah, we'll surprise them," Jack responded, though Mike noticed the tremor in his voice. Maybe. The show would be more than performances. It would be a stark confrontation between hope and skepticism. With their names now written down, they stood on the brink of a spectacle, one that could either uplift them all or expose the vulnerabilities lurking beneath. Mike held his breath, heart thudding. Was this the catalyst for change or the reveal of darker times ahead? Only time would tell. Amid the swirling noise and flickering lights of the fair, Mike felt an electricity in the air. It wrapped around him, urging him onward, but the shadow of doubt still loomed. As Emma skipped ahead, her curls bouncing with each step, Mike couldn't shake the feeling that coming here could transform everything or tear them apart. "Look over there," Jack exclaimed, pointing at a small stage where a couple of kids were performing an impromptu comedy skit. Laughter erupted from the crowd, refreshing and bright, and Mike watched their faces light up. It reinforced a sliver of hope buried deep within him. Maybe they could do that too. Let us gather some ideas. He encouraged, pulling the kids closer. We'll brainstorm the funniest moments from our neighborhood. You know, those little things that make us all laugh and feel at home. With their spirits alight, they found a corner filled with colorful posters and stories from previous years. Jack and Emma rummaged about, sharing tales of absurd tricks their friends had tried, while Sarah sketched notes, a playful grin plastered on her face. Remember when Mr. Hargrove tried to fix his own roof? He ended up in the neighbor's yard. Emma giggled, swinging her arms. And don't forget the pie-eating contest at last year's fair. Half of us were too stuffed to move, Jack added, doubling over with laughter. The echoes of their shared joy momentarily drowned out the nagging whispers of doubt. Yet, further back, Mike caught a glimpse of the older teens still watching, their expressions twisted into caricatures of disdain. A lump formed in his throat. It would be so easy to back out now, to choose safety over vulnerability. But what was that saying? You can't truly live if you're always worried about what others think. All right, crew, let us put our ideas together, Mike said, clapping his hands together. We need one big finale to pull them in. Something unexpected. He watched as they bounced ideas off one another, their enthusiasm igniting his own determination. Emma suggested a surprise twist where they acted out their biggest neighborly gripes in exaggerated humor. Jack jumped in, suggesting sound effects, while Sarah navigated between their wild ideas, keeping everything anchored. Guys, we can totally bring this together. Mike's heart swelled with pride for the creativity bubbling among them. But as they fleshed out their act, a shadow flickered across their gathering. The older teens had ventured closer, their skepticism thickening the air like mist. One of them, a girl with a piercing gaze, stepped forward, her smirk growing with each step. Good luck with that, she sneered, throwing her arms in the air. This is a talent show, not story time for kids. The laughter and chatter from the crowd seemed to fade. Mike felt the wind get knocked out of him. Just ignore them, Sarah urged, but the tightness in Mike's chest grew. They were a community, yet in that moment, it felt like they stood on opposing sides. Maybe we're making fools of ourselves, he murmured, doubt creeping back in. He glanced at the kids, their faces painted with confusion and hurt. But as he looked closer, he saw something notable. Emma's chin was held high, and Jack's blue eyes matched the depth of determination. Perhaps this was what they needed, not just to showcase their talents, but to fight for their place, all together. Let us make this funny and honest, Mike declared suddenly, energy sparking within him. Let us show them who we are, and maybe even gather a few more friends along the way. The children nodded, fire igniting in their hearts regardless of external judgment. They began to practice. Their laughter and sketches transformed into a vibrant performance filled with life. As they rehearsed, Mike noticed the whispers around them change. Some heads turned, curiosity replacing skepticism. A small group of kids who had never even glanced their way were now watching, eyes wide with intrigue. Could it be? Were they winning over the crowd, one giggle at a time? The energy shifted. More people began to gather, drawn in by the joy emanating from their skit. But before Mike could savor the moment, that piercing gaze from the girl returned, and he felt a chill. What if we don't impress them? He whispered to himself, fear pricking at his heart. But then Emma's bright voice rang out, breaking through his thoughts. We can do this, Mike. Together. And suddenly, he wasn't just a father hoping to spark change. He was part of something bigger, something worth fighting for. As the group prepared to take the stage, the weight of uncertainty shifted into anticipation. This was their moment. The moment that could reshape everything, both for them and their community. But standing in the wings, Mike couldn't shake the feeling that what came next would be the true test of their resilience and unity. Would they soar or stumble once the spotlight hit? The stage lights glowed warmly, casting a golden hue over Mike and his family as they waited in the wings. The buzz of the crowd thrummed like a heartbeat, a living, breathing entity full of anticipation and hope. Mike felt the air thick with promise. This was more than just a talent show. It was a chance to stand up for what they believed in. Are you ready? Sarah squeezed his hand, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Mike nodded, though his heart raced. He looked into the sea of faces, the friendly smiles, the hopeful eyes. He felt a surge of determination washing over him. "Let us do this," he said, and Emma and Jack echoed him enthusiastically as they stepped onto the brightly lit stage. Cheers erupted from their friends and neighbors. Mike could see George in the front row, beaming with support. It reignited the flame of courage flickering inside him. "Hi everyone," Mike began, his voice steadying as he embraced the warmth surrounding him. "We're here to share a piece of our neighborhood with you, a little performance about the quirks, the laughter, and the love wrapped up in our community." Cheers erupted again, echoing like a wave of encouragement. Emma and Jack exchanged excited glances, and the duo took center stage. "I'll be playing our neighbor, Mr. Hargrove," Emma announced dramatically, causing laughter to ripple through the audience. "And I'll be the super clumsy repairman, who ends up falling on Mr. Hargrove's porch." Jack chimed in, stumbling in place, eliciting even more laughter. The playful banter began, each skit revealing snippets of their life, neighborhood gossip exaggerated to hysterical lengths, misunderstandings and mishaps woven into hilarious tales intertwined with heartfelt moments. The siblings drew the crowd in closer, not shying away from their awkward moments, turning them into shared experiences, creating laughter that bound them together in that very moment. Just when Mike thought the laughter couldn't get any louder, Emma slipped into a dramatic monologue, voicing every petty annoyance of neighborhood life. "And let us not forget the infamous pie-eating contest, where half the neighborhood couldn't move the next day," she quipped, and the crowd roared with approval. It felt effortless, exciting. Mike joined in, embodying various characters, his nervousness melting away. The triumphant feeling blossomed in his chest, the realization that he was connecting with everyone around him, just as he had imagined they would. The skit reached its crescendo when they all joined hands, raised their arms, and declared, "Together, we can make this neighborhood shine." The crowd erupted in applause, cheers rising like a symphony echoing through the night. As they bowed, a wave of exhilaration washed over Mike. He looked out among the audience, seeing the faces illuminated with joy, and felt pride swell within him. They had stepped out of their comfort zones, overcoming the fear of judgment and finding liberation in their laughter. "There you go," Sarah's voice chimed in, her eyes teary with joy, a proud, radiant smile spreading across her face as they left the stage. "Dad, that was amazing," Jack squealed, bouncing with excitement. Emma hugged him tightly, a whirlwind of giggles amid their triumph. But as they stepped backstage, Mike caught sight of the older teens again murmuring to each other, confusion evident in their faces. It tugged at him. Would this performance truly unify them? Just then, George stepped up beside them, a grin plastered on his face. "You guys were awesome. I have so many neighbors who want to join the festival brainstorming session. They loved your act." He beamed, infectious joy radiating from him. Hope spread through Mike. "Really?" he asked, heart lifting. "That is amazing." "Absolutely," George continued. "People are yearning for connection, and you just kicked off the momentum. Let us seize that energy." And there it was, the spark that could ignite their vision into reality. The thought spiraled into a vigorous whirlwind of excitement and determination as they gathered as a family and discussed their next steps. It hit Mike that this was something he could not retreat from. He had a community behind him, fully invested and eager to grow together. "Let us set the meeting for next week," Mike proposed, glancing at Sarah, Jack, and Emma. "A way to keep this momentum alive. We can focus on everything: workshops, activities, even reaching out to local businesses." "Yes, let us engage as many people as possible," Sarah added, her voice brimming with passion. "I'll talk to my friends too," Jack chimed in, full of vigor. "Me too," Emma exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. In that moment, Mike felt something shift in him, something profound. They were no longer just a family hoping for change, they were catalysts igniting a movement. As laughter and applause faded, they left the bright lights of the stage behind, stepping into the warm embrace of the fairground, the vibrant community alive all around them. Mike turned to Sarah, her eyes filled with pride and hope. "Are you ready?" he asked, determination glimmering in his voice. "More than ever," she replied, squeezing his hand tightly and standing beside him, ready to embark on this journey together. With laughter bubbling up around them, Mike felt a surge of gratitude for this community, the people who lifted them up, the challenges they faced together, and the shared determination to craft a brighter tomorrow. This was just the beginning, and together, they were more than enough. Now, this is your turning point. If you felt the transformation, if you believe in community and connection just like Mike and his family, subscribe immediately so you don't miss more inspiring stories like this. Leave a like now. Your support feeds the algorithm and helps spread our message. Comment with your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to hear your thoughts. And share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to feel this uplifting energy. Don't wait not even one more second to support this channel. Real change starts with you. You need to be part of this journey.